Hello, welcome to the final webinar of 2025. We're excited to see you here today. Today's topic is about integrating mindfulness into your leadership style. This is a topic that I am extremely passionate about, and I'm happy that you all are here to participate in this time together. If you'll just go to kind of skip to the next two slides. Our webinar is brought to you by Workplace Peace Institute, specifically our Leadership Academy. Our Leadership Academy courses are designed to support professionals in developing and optimizing competencies in human behavior, specifically around communication skills, conflict resolution, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, so that together we can create highly engaged workplaces where basic human needs and dignity needs are consistently honored. At the Workplace Peace Institute, we're singularly focused on supporting leaders in creating workplace cultures where all people thrive. And I have a deep core belief that foundational to our ability to really optimize human behavior, to really have deep, effective communication skills, to navigate conflict with dignity, is to come to this work with mindfulness. So I'm very excited to introduce you to Dr. Outi Hilgert. If you want to go to the next slide. Dr. Hilgert is actually joining us today from Finland, so very grateful to her being here at 9 p.m. her time. She brings more than 25 years of experience in integrative medicine. She's a mindfulness-based stress reduction and mindful-based cognitive therapy trainer. She's an expert in developing trauma-informed mindfulness and compassion-based interventions in medicine and society. She's particularly interested in promoting mindfulness, meditation, stress management, emotional intelligence, and self-regulation skills in preventing and treating mental and physical diseases. She is the instructor of our Mindful Leader course here at the Workplace Peace Institute, and I'm just absolutely thrilled to have you with us here today, Dr. Hilgert, and I'll pass this over to you.
Thank you, Robin, and welcome everybody. And greetings from Finland in Northern Europe, where I'm joining you from. And a little disclaimer as I'm starting, because I have a little flu, so I hope I won't be coughing, so bear with me if that happens. So it's part of today's reality. Yeah, so I'd like to start our my presentation today with a short mindfulness practice. So whether you are sitting still or doing something, driving a car, preparing a meal, the invitation is to bring your full attention to the present moment with an open and curious attitude. So noticing your environment. What do you see? What do you hear? Do you smell something? Or taste something? Noticing your body, its posture or position. Notice all the contact points of your body with the ground or chair. Notice the air touching your skin, the temperature. And then you might want to bring your attention inside your body and see how your body feels inside. How does your breath feel? And just stay present. You don't need to change anything. You don't need to optimize anything. Mindfulness is about noticing what is present for you at this moment. And you can continue bringing this awareness of the present moment throughout this presentation as we continue to the topic of the day, integrating mindfulness into your leadership style, our leadership style. And why is that important? Mindfulness is a critical skill for leading high-performing teams. We were just practicing in this short mindfulness practice self-awareness, and we will be practicing today or talking also about self-regulation. And mindfulness is really about noticing what's going on in the present moment. Very often we are already jumping into the next moment, but staying in the present moment so that we can respond wisely instead of reacting on autopilot. Today, we'll learn how mindfulness can enhance self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and decision-making. And my aim is really to have a very practical session today. So I want you to come out of this webinar with very practical tools, mindfulness techniques, meditation, reflective practices, and mindful communication tools that you can implement directly after this webinar. We'll gain insights into how mindful leadership can help create a culture of trust, collaboration, and innovation within our teams, and understanding how mindfulness can help us navigate common leadership challenges such as managing stress, resolving conflicts, and maintaining focus under pressure. Mindful leadership starts with understanding the mind, so we'll be exploring that in depth today. The definition of mindfulness, according to John Kabat-Zinn, who is the creator of mindfulness-based stress reduction program. So he defined mindfulness as the awareness that arises through paying attention on purpose in the present moment, non-judgmentally, and in the service of self-understanding and wisdom. So mindfulness always has these two attitudes of mindfulness, present moment awareness, and then the attitude with which we are being in this present moment. So we are cultivating an attitude of openness, curiosity, friendliness, compassion. So instead of being on autopilot, and most of us actually, we spend, according to studies, about 40 to 50% of our time on autopilot, which means that our body is always present in the moment. But our mind is not necessarily. Our mind can wander in the future or in the past. So very often our body is here, but our mind is not. And we call that being on autopilot. And if we spend 40 to 50% of our life not being here, not living our life, that's not a very good thing. So instead of being on autopilot, mindfulness is about being here now, paying attention in the present moment with a calm focused and clear mind. And this is the definition of Rasmus Hilgert in his book, The Mind of the Leader. So instead of having a clear, focused, and calm mind, I think we most often feel that our mind is full and not mindful. And let's explore this a bit more in detail. And for that, we need to understand human physiology. And as a medical doctor, always when I talk about mindfulness, I start by talking about our physiology. It's part of the self-awareness that we understand how we human beings work. So let's look at the concept of window of tolerance, which was created by Professor Dan Siegel, professor of psychiatry from UCLA in the 90s. And this concept describes our nervous system arousal states. So our nervous system has 3 states where it can be. In the middle is the optimal arousal state, which is called the window of tolerance. And then we have hyperarousal and hypoarousal. And let's explore these a bit more in detail. And as I'm explaining them, you can listen and reflect how does that show up in your life. So when we are in our window of tolerance, which is the optimal physiological state where we feel good and balanced, we have energy to do the things that are important to us. Our mind is clear and focused. We can focus on the present moment. We can also plan long-term activities. We can be in good social engagement. We can have stress, but we have the confidence that we can handle that. And our nervous system has the experience of being safe. Let's go and see the hyperarousal state there in the upper part. So how do we know that we are hyperaroused? So our experience can be, we can experience a restlessness, agitation, nervousness. So our mind and or body can be restless, agitated. We can have difficulties relaxing, difficulties staying still, not doing anything. We can be over worrying about things, having anxiety, fear, panic attacks, sleep disturbances, or we feel very irritated, frustrated, and easily angry and easily losing temper. So that's the hyperarousal state. And hypoarousal state is the opposite. There we feel tired, exhausted, brain foggy, burnt out. We have difficulty initiating action, difficulty concentrating because there's nothing happening in the brain. We feel numb or low mood or depressed or dissociated. So this dissociation is the feeling that I'm not present here, and I even feel that I'm outside my body and I feel spacey. So these are the 3 states where our nervous system can be. And any time in our life or our everyday life, we are in one of these states. And now you can reflect a little bit. How does it look for you at the moment? In which of these 3 states are you spending a lot of time, not at all time? And you can even give some percentages, like you could say, okay, my window of tolerance is 90%, and I'm just occasionally under very high pressure in the hyperarousal. and not at all in the hypoarousal. That could be one. But it could also be that my window of tolerance is like 30%. And I'm spending 40% of my time in hyperarousal and 30% in hypoarousal. And it could be that I'm only in my window of tolerance during the weekends, and during work days, I'm in the hyperarousal, and when I come home after the workday, I fall into the hypoarousal. And hypoarousal, we fall there when we have been too much time in the hyperarousal. So we have been draining our batteries. It could also be that my window of tolerance is non-existent at the moment. Like it's really narrow, which means that I'm spending my time either in hyper or hypoarousal, or just oscillating between the two of them. And all kind of other possibilities in between. And it's important to notice that the window of tolerance is a living space. So it can be in our life, there can be moments where it's wide or narrow. Okay. And when we have the three states, if the window becomes narrow, so then we don't tolerate that much. We go more easily to the hyperarousal or hyperarousal. So this is important to understand about the human physiology and nervous system. And it's also like what is narrowing the window of tolerance is chronic stress, insomnia, traumas. Okay. And here is another picture of this. So basically the hyperarousal is the stress state of fight and flight. So it's when our sympathetic nervous system gets activated and there is a sense of threat. So it is a good response if we really need to mobilize our energy, if there is a big threat. But most often the threat in our society is that I'm too busy, my calendar is too full, there are too many traffic jams, or I have not enough time. And normally, if we think of a healthy human being, we actually should have a pretty large window of tolerance. Of course, there can be times of stress, but basically a pretty large window of tolerance. And that we only occasionally go into hyperarousal or hypoarousal. Window of tolerance is important because that's the state where our nervous system can feel safe. And this is also, that's a state where we have innovation, inspiration, creativity. And hyperarousal and hyperarousal are stress states. So if we think of mindfulness, about being here and now and paying attention in the present moment with a calm, focused and clear mind. So after understanding our physiology, we also understand that clear, calm and focused mind, it's physiologically only possible when we are in our window of tolerance. Because when we are in hyperarousal, physiologically, our mind is restless, agitated, anxious, fearful, or angry. And when we are in hypoarousal, our mind is exhausted, brain foggy, depressed. And in today's world, when we think that our most precious working tool is our brain, and we are being paid for being creative and solving problems, who do you want to pay for? An employee whose mind is stressed, exhausted and scattered, or an employee whose mind is clear, focused, and concentrated. An exhausted and scattered mind is routinely repeating what it already knows and can, and only a clear and focused mind is creative and able to solve problems. So now if we think of ourselves and our employees at workplace, what is our aim is that we all stay in our window of tolerance. That's where we are in the social engagement mode. Our mind is calm and focused, and we are creative, inspired, and we have energy to do the things that are important. And I'm still coming back to this, and reality is that many of us in our modern day society, we spend most of our time in hyper arousal, and our society is also pushing us there. So stress management skills are a very important part of mindfulness. The self-awareness is about understanding in which arousal state am I. And self-regulation is about how to bring myself back to my optimal arousal state. If I'm in the hyper arousal or hypoarousal, how do I bring myself back to the optimal state? And of course, we also live in a society where a very individualistic society where a lot of responsibility is brought into our own shoulders, that we should be able to manage ourselves and self-regulate. But we also need to acknowledge that we are herd animals, we human beings. We are constantly, our nervous systems are communicating with other people, and we need co-regulation. We need connectedness. We are interdependent, and there are systemic forces that also influence us, and we'll talk about that more later. So how would co-regulation look like in leadership? And for me, there are two important questions for a leader to ask the employees. So what do you need in order to do your job well? And how can I help you to do your job well or to stay in your window of tolerance? And just a short, as a medical doctor, of course, I always bring this nervous system regulation. So these are the pillars of nervous system regulation for all of us. So sleep, nutrition, exercise, mental and emotional health, mindfulness, healthy social relationships, and nature. So we all need these skills. And today we'll talk more about mindfulness at workplace. But before we go in there, I'd like to say a couple of words about distractibility, because mindfulness is really difficult today. We live in a very difficult and stressful world today. We receive information about all the corners of the world. It's coming all the time to us. And also the state of the world is not easy at the moment. So through the social media and all kind of modern technology, distractibility has become the new norm. We live in this 24/7 society where there are no rest places for our brain and mind. And our brain is changing all the time. You used to think in the old days that at 25 years old, our brain has its maximum capacity, and all after that, it's just declining. And we know nowadays that's not true. There is neuroplasticity. Our brain is reacting. We can train our brain, and it's reacting like a muscle to what we are doing with our brain. So what we are training, we are becoming. And sadly, in our modern day society, we are training our brain to attention deficit disorder. We are also attracted to busyness because busyness feels productive. We confuse an active mind with a productive mind. Busyness is also addictive. When we complete a task, dopamine is released in the brain, and dopamine is a highly addictive hormone, bringing us enjoyment, gratification. And brains are constantly looking for another dopamine hit, which comes from quick, easy tasks, answering an email, responding to text, updating calendar. But dopamine doesn't distinguish between activity and productivity. And according to studies, people spend 41% of their time on low-level priorities, so constantly chasing quick wins and easy fixes at the expense of long-term goals. Work-addicted managers are also creating a busyness ecosystem. How can we overcome busyness? First is to become aware that we are busy. And after that, we can start managing our time and priorities, clearing mental clutter, assessing what is important versus urgent, and blocking of time in our calendar for tasks, but also buffer, breaks, and unexpected issues. We can overcome busyness by putting people first, prioritizing people in our calendar, or creating to be with people lists versus to-do lists, and valuing busyness. And this could be one mindfulness practice for you. It's called a 6-minute morning practice. So each morning, taking 6 minutes to pause, 2 minutes breathing, 2 minutes visualizing your day, what's important, what's needed, and then 2 minutes making a plan. So blocking time from calendar. And let's do it together now. So you can, if you are in a place where you can close your eyes and sit comfortably, and if you're not, then keep your eyes open and pause for a moment. You can feel your breath. How you inhale and exhale. So just stopping to feel your breath. And as you are breathing, you can visualize your day to come. What is important today? What is needed today? What is urgent? And then make a plan. What do you need to do today? What can you delay? And blocking the time from the calendar or in your mind right now. When can you do the tasks that you were thinking about? Okay. So in a couple of minutes, you can importance of stopping and taking small breaks, coming out of autopilot and connecting with what is important. So next we will explore the 3 pillars of mindful leader training. And the 3 pillars are mindfulness, emotional balance, and compassion. Let's start with mindfulness. So mindfulness is mind training. We are training our mind to focus and concentrate. So learning to manage our attention in order to see clearly. So clearing the mental clutter. And when our mind is clear and sharp, we know instinctively what is important and what is the right thing to do. We can practice mindfulness by meditation practice, which enhances focus and clarity. And the benefits of meditation are better mental health, better physical health, better brain health, better immunity. And meditation even has effect on our genes, on the level of our genes. And even a 5-minute meditation per day, according to studies, is effective. And I really encourage, if you don't yet have a meditation practice, to set a time for a daily 5-minute practice. And you will see something will change in your life within 1 month. And it does not matter what kind of meditation you do, you can just sit in silence and put a timer, or then there are loads of guided meditation practices in internet. You can also practice daily mindfulness. If you say, I don't have 5 minutes a day, or I don't like meditation, you can also practice mindfulness in a way that doesn't take more time. So instead, for instance, of walking on autopilot, you could be walking mindfully, so noticing your environment, what you see, what you hear, what you smell, feeling your body moving, feeling the ground. Or you could, instead of eating on autopilot, take a mindful eating break. So really savoring the food, eating slowly. And this is also a wonderful way to activate our parasympathetic nervous system. So this is the rest and relax system, and bringing us back to the window of tolerance, to our optimal arousal state. We can take transition time as a mindfulness practice, bringing yourself to the present moment, taking a few breaths, feeling your body, or if you need to change the room, or you just take a couple of steps and move. So mindful walking, stretching. And mindful communication practice, which is active listening, being curious to understand the other, asking open questions, and noticing nonverbal communication before we speak up ourselves. And usually it's really difficult, mindful communication. We really need to practice that as well, because our mind, as somebody is talking, we are on autopilot, actually already thinking what we will answer. So slowing down and really concentrating on just listening This is a wonderful mindfulness practice that you can start doing immediately after this webinar. A very powerful and effective practice to train the brain to focus and concentrate and this open awareness. Mindful listening is the ability to listen to others. What are they really saying? Learning from others, and having better communication and better conflict management through that. The second pillar of mindful leader training is emotional balance. Now, why is that important? It's important because emotions drive our behavior. Emotions are contagious. And if we suppress our emotions, people feel them even if we don't show them. And it's important in which emotional state we are going to the workplace or we are going to our team meetings. Are we contaminating energy, inspiration, joy, curiosity, or are we contaminating others with tiredness, frustration, irritation? So the more we are cultivating the emotional balance, the more we are enhancing authenticity and enhancing psychological safety. And now I have two practices to really practice. Very often people asking, well, how do you practice this emotional balance? So I have two practices here, and one is like a quick emergency hit practice, emotional reset. So in a situation where you really need to calm down or focus. So it's this 4-7-8 breathing. Some of you might know it. So 4 seconds breathing in, 7 seconds holding the breath, and 8 seconds breathing out. So the idea is that the breathing out is longer than the breathing in. And in that sense, we are activating the parasympathetic, the rest and relaxed nervous system. So let's practice that together now. So let's start breathing in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding the breath. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathing out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathing in. 2, 3, 4. Holding the breath. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathing out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Breathing in. Holding the breath. Breathing out. Breathing in. Holding the breath. Breathing out. Okay. And then you can find your natural way of breathing and just notice, how was that practice for you? How do you feel after this couple of deep, slow breaths? And then another practice about emotional balance is the rain meditation that I'd like to share with you. It's to neutralize difficult emotions. And we can do it now shortly. We don't there is a longer versions, but let's just do it shortly. So you can right now think of a difficult situation at work, maybe something that is irritating, or frustrating, or exhausting. Okay, so thinking of a difficult situation. And then the first step of the RAIN meditation are recognize. So recognize the difficult emotion or recognize that this situation makes you feel difficult. And the second step is A, accept. Accept how you feel. So you don't need to accept what has happened, but accepting how it makes you feel. And the third step is inquiring. So inquiring what's going on there. What's most difficult for you in this situation, this difficult situation? How does it make you feel? Name the emotion or emotions. And then feel the emotion or emotions in your body. Then just stay with how you feel. So we're not trying to change or solve the situation. We just give space to how you feel about it. And then the fourth step is nurture. Asking yourself, what do you need now? Or what would you have needed in that difficult situation? What's the need behind your emotion? How can you take care of yourself now? Do you need to console yourself or act in some way now or later? Do something or say something. Okay, and then taking a deep breath and ending this practice, which helps you feel and get clarity about your emotions. And this is actually the part of mindfulness. My favorite part of mindfulness is the ability to work with difficult emotions so that we don't get stuck in them or stay ruminating about what's going on, but we clear it from our system and can move. The third pillar of mindful leader training is compassion training. And in this context, compassion is the intention to be of benefit to others. And this is again Rasmus Hogarth's definition from the book The Mind of the Leader. And Paul Dougherty in his book Human and Machine, Reimagining Work in the Age of AI, talks about the power of compassion. We humans need and want human interaction. All businesses are technology businesses, and leaders need to understand that. But ultimately, it's our ability to cultivate meaningful human connections that allows a business to thrive. Rasmus Hogarth, in his other book, which is Compassionate Leadership, says today people in companies expect a great work experience. They expect to feel connected, to feel valued, to feel cared about. This requires leaders who are able to create a more human world of work. And when leaders manage to create this experience, people thrive and perform better. McKinsey interviewed 1,700 leaders and determined that selflessness is the most important leadership quality in the 21st century. Selfless leaders give credit to the team, they take blame on themselves, and they look for gratitude. Professor of Psychiatry Daniel Siegel, UCLA, the same person who created the concept of window of tolerance, has created another concept, quite many others as well, but interpersonal neurobiology. And he has created a new word, which is we. So it's me plus we. And according to his studies, if we use we, us, or you instead of I, me, my, mine, we have better engagement in our teams. So this could be also one practice for you. So considering the contribution of others versus self-referential. So try to speak 1 minute without using I, me, my, mine. I tell you it's difficult. Or in emails, try to use we, us, you. Okay, and it's difficult because the brain has a self-referential tendency for me, which is called the default mode network, the story of me, which we are very addicted to. Our brain is very, very addicted to the story of me. I always like to end meetings with or webinars with something very practical, and I think this is something that you can start implementing immediately, mindful meetings, and it's actually bringing together everything we have gone through today. So it starts with being very mindful of who to invite, and also communicating very mindfully and clearly to those who are not invited so that they don't get upset. Having a clear intention for the precious time that you spend together, having a clear agenda, and maybe starting with 1 minute silence, which allows everybody to drop from the hyper arousal, from the busyness to their window of tolerance, and practicing focus and clarity and having no distractions. So no phones, no laptops. So we are training, this is a mindfulness training, mind training to practice focus and concentrating on the present moment. Also practicing mindful listening. So the whole meeting can be a 1 hour mindfulness practice for everybody. And on top, you are creating this common experience where you spend time together and your nervous systems will get regulated by this connectedness that you feel together. So mindful leadership represents a shift from traditional authoritative styles to a more conscious and reflective approach. It can lead to a more balanced, effective, and human way of guiding teams and organizations, making decisions that consider the well-being of all involved. A mindful leader can lead themselves, their people, and their organizations to unlock intrinsic motivation, create real people-centered cultures, and ultimately deliver extraordinary results. So in a nutshell, mindful leadership is about unlearning management and relearning being human. It's about cultivating presence and calmness, communicating with clarity and compassion, and acting with candor, caring candor. And to finish this webinar, the invitation is just to drop into these qualities of mindfulness, the present moment awareness, and the attitude of heartfulness, caring, compassion, and feeling these two qualities in yourself right now. And maybe you want to put two hands on your heart and see how it makes you feel when you connect with these mindful, compassionate qualities, heart qualities. So thank you for your participation today, and I will give a word to Robin, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Dr. Hilgert. And I just want to remind everyone that if you want to take a deeper dive into your own learning about mindfulness and leadership, you may want to explore our online course, The Mindful Leader, which is also taught by Dr. Hilgert. And I'm going to close the recording now and open up some space for any questions that you might have.